Okay, everything looks good on my end, so just give me confirmation.
Yep.
We have a little bit, I set it for more latency so that we have a higher quality stream.
Okay.
So you're going to see a delay. People are going to hear things well after we say them.
Oh.
But I'm doing that intentionally because I'm not doing the recorded version anymore. So I want a higher quality stream.
That's all right.
And if there's one thing a man entering into his
we're
40s and 50s needs, it's a high quality stream.
Yes, this is true.
Okay, we're good?
We're good.
So I may have stirred up a little mini hornet's nest with my post this morning. I posted about river tables, and I said, just posed the question, not stating an opinion. I said, does anyone think that epoxy river tables are going to be the mullets of the woodworking world? It's interesting reading people's opinions on that.
I think they're pretty.
They are pretty. Here's the reason why it's become a, like, there's the fan group and then the anti-fan group. First of all, anytime something gets popular and enters into that fad territory, you're going to find people who hate it just as much as people who love it.
Like superhero movies.
Who hates superhero movies?
I'm sure they're out there.
Of course they are. Well, may the 4th be with you, Nicole.
Oh, yes, it is May 4th. I have a
know
friend
people hate that.
Hate that.
But here's the thing with the river tables, and I think this is the reason why people generally are on the negative side, is because an epoxy river table is the original river table light. All right, the original river table, I can't remember the person's name who did it. I'm sure the guy doesn't even get nearly enough credit. I remember seeing it a few years ago. He took the glass that was, made into a wave and then perfectly routed a channel for it so the glass slides right into the table and it looked amazing. Well, that's a harder technique, and you have to have this glass made by custom, glass manufacturer. So it's a bit more involved of a process. Matt just did this in the videos we released today in the Guild. So it's much more involved. And I'm going to say cheap. And I mean this, it's less expensive and it's easier. That's what I mean by cheap. I don't want it to be derogatory, but it's a much easier way of doing it to simply route a channel and fill it with epoxy. It's the difference between, I want to do a router-based inlay, so I very carefully sculpt it out. Then I actually have to have a piece that fits perfectly into that. It's twice as difficult, maybe even more. But I could also just route out letters and then fill them with epoxy. The epoxy just expands and fills the space. So I think that's why the epoxy river tables have become a little bit of a there's a little fatigue.
Okay.
There's fad fatigue.
That's right.
Is what it comes
And
out
we
to.
just jumped right into it. We were just like, boom.
Well, I'm just telling stories.
Yeah, you're just telling stories.
I just got
Did
stuff
we
to
even
talk
start
about.
this show?
Yeah, well, welcome to Friday Live, everybody.
Hey.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're a little rusty. So.
I was out of town for Fine Woodworking Live, which was a bunch of fun.
And I was just in Vegas.
For her second job, right?
Yeah, my second job.
I posted a picture of a woman trying to pole dance on a bed and it broke. And I said, that's Nicole practicing her second job in Vegas.
No, I am on a audio morning podcast called The Morning Stream. I go on Wednesdays and talk about movies. And they had a little meetup in Vegas, and I got to throw
axes.
Some axes.
That's pretty badass.
I was actually surprisingly good at that. I was scared.
I'm a little nervous.
I was way nervous, like doing it, and it's like crazy.
Good job.
But anyway, I threw some axes. We ate food in the dark, which it was pitch black. It was called.
You don't have to go to Vegas to do that. You put you in the closet with a plate of food and see.
Here's a
Nicole?
bowl of cereal.
Oh, it's delicious because I can't see it.
But that experience was actually surprisingly calm because what you think of, did you ever as a kid ever have to sit in a circle with your other classmates, and around Halloween you get blindfolded and they pass.
The Boy Scouts thing did that.
They
for
pass
Halloween
you like skinned grapes. It's eyeballs.
Yeah, and like cold spaghetti.
Yes.
Weird stuff like that.
That actually traumatized me as a kid. I was so scared, but anyway, that's what I was thinking when we were going into it, but it's actually a date kind of thing, so it's very calm and relaxing.
You were on a date without me?
with
Brian?
7 other people.
Yeah, the morning stream is like the next best thing to Howard Stern.
Wow, that's a pretty good compliment.
There's only 2 morning shows I've ever listened
so
to.
our friend Brian Ibbett
there's not a lot to compare it against.
and Scott Johnson. So if you have a morning commute and you're into podcasts,
Yeah.
Download Morning Stream if you haven't. It's a fun show.
It's totes awesome.
Totes.
All right, so we got a bunch of things to get to. Let's get started
Yeah.
with the show. I've got, you want to open
I got
that?
a package, and it's from Ness. Hi, Ness. Can you open it for me? Because I couldn't open it.
Well, we should have done this before the show.
I didn't have a pair of scissors.
Watch this.
We're in a shop, and there's no scissors.
But all my sharp cutty things. There we go. All right, this is going to take a while.
Okay.
You should open this stuff before the
Oh,
show,
I just-
Nicole.
Yeah.
Amateur.
Oh, so
Amateur.
I love Fallout, the game, and Ness sent me a little Fallout boy. Oh, I love it. It's a keychain. I'm gonna have to add him to my. I have a suit of armor from Fallout. So thank you, Ness. Oh, she's so nice.
She's so nice. She's the best.
And you stay up late and watch, and
Ness was probably the thing I was most excited about going to Australia.
we're
And
gonna get there.
Now we're
We
not.
are going to get there. Just this month or this year is just bananas. Oh, she made me a nice little card. You're
She's the
so
best. She's
so sweet.
generous.
She Horizon Zero Dawn. So sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll just stop talking.
Nicole just likes to show off her free stuff she gets from people. Speaking
It
of
was
free
my
stuff.
birthday. It was my birthday. Give
Speaking
me a
of free
break.
stuff. That was supposed to be a joke.
Oh, you're leading into your free
Yeah,
stuff.
it was a very stupid lead-in. So Microjig sent me this box, and I'll tell you what. You know, I get some free stuff now and then, and usually I only show it if it's something that I'm like really into using or they've paid for the privilege. And this is one of those things that fits into neither category. But they put so much effort into this, I have to show it because it is an incredibly generous gift. And I believe, watch your coffee there.
Oh, yeah. Watch out for the coffee.
Several people, I know Brad from Fix This Build That also got one, so they probably made a few of these for some special
So
people.
you're not that special.
I feel pretty special. I'm sure there's like less than a dozen of these. They sent this custom cabinet box with these slide-out dealy whackers for the doors, and this is kind of to promote their new, I guess it's an updated version of their match fit clamps. All right, these are the guys that have the dovetail shape on them, so you can make all kinds of jigs, and that's actually what this is. It's a sample jig with a runner on there for 3/4 inch slot, and then you're able to put things on here and clamp them into place. So it's one of those systems that if you adopt it and you build upon it, you could have some really cool features in your shop, but you really got to commit to it. You've got to have these dovetail slots everywhere to make use of it. So it's a little case for the clamps, and there's a couple of little freebies down here as well. They gave me a nice wooden notebook with my logo in it, which is insanely cool. And then a packaged set of clamps here. Now, look, here's the thing. I'm never going to use more than this. This may become a giveaway
Oh, yeah,
in the
okay,
future.
we can
So
do that.
we'll definitely set that aside for that. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys this, give them a little bit of a plug because this is a lot of effort to put into something that you just send to some, weirdo for free.
You are pretty weird.
Yeah, I am. So thank you, Microjig. Hashtag not a sponsor.
That was really nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
Bruce emailed me. He's like, "Hey, are you still in Arizona?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a couple years since we talked."
Yeah. Yeah, we used to work with Microjig a lot in the past. Then I discovered Steve. It was all over.
Casey Boyd in the chat room said, "Fun fact: I got into woodworking because I heard about Marc from the morning stream years ago."
Oh, no kidding. There's that does happen once in a
Yeah.
while. I hear from Frog Pants people who find their way over here,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. All right, so we have some questions. If you want to help out the show and have a better shot at having your questions answered, you can go to patreon.com/woodwhisperer. And out of all the questions we get, I answer what's there that I'm not going to answer on the show, and then I pick usually 3 or 4 questions to answer here on the show. Nicole is also in our YouTube chat room, and
Yes.
she will grab questions as we go and pepper them in like a fine saute. Although Nicole prefers that without pepper.
Yeah,
She thinks black pepper is spicy.
it's a spicy. It's just my taste
She goes,
buds.
oh, it's spicy. I'm like, no, Nicole, it's pepper. Black pepper.
Pepper for me is spicy. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
You and
I'm a rare
5-year-olds around the world. Oh, it's spicy. It is spicy, isn't it, little one? Okay. Your hair looks great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to grow my bangs out, so
Grow your fro, Cremona style.
yeah.
Stumptown Woodworks wrote in. He says, got this in late last week. I'm building a 90-inch bathroom vanity with 11 drawers, 2 faults that will tip out, and 4 doors. That sounds like a lot of work. That doesn't sound fun. I'm looking for the most efficient way to make the many frame and panels. The panel will be a 1/4 inch plywood material, and the frames will be 3/4 inch beech, hickory, or white oak. Now, he gives me 2 suggestions that he's pondering. One is to use dowel joinery for the frame and panel joints. The other is to do, he says, groove the stiles all the way through, then cut tenons on the rails. Panel sits in the groove, and then some type of setup with the table saw and tenons. Now, he didn't mention another option. I'm going to call it option C.
Or 3.
I like C
1,
better.
2,
1,
C.
2, C. So option C is to use a cope and stick router bit setup. Now, I might not normally do that, depending on the situation. I like mortise and tenons. I like a little bit of deeper joinery there. But a cope and stick bit set is going to cut your groove and your joinery for the frames themselves all at the same time. So if you're looking for efficiency, you're not going to find much faster than that. So as long as, and look, lots of cabinets throughout, houses all over the world are made with that technique. Most cabinet doors aren't being abused. Well, ours might be as our kids hang on them and the dogs scratch them. But that joint is usually strong enough that it should be fine. And especially with a 1/4 inch plywood panel, you could glue the panel in, and that can also reinforce the strength of the structure. So look into a cope and stick bit set. It's a 2-bit set. Most router bit companies have at least one. Usually they have multiple because they have different profiles. And that is going to be your fastest solution, I think. All right, you got a question?
Cool beans. Yeah. Ben C. See?
Ben C.
Ben C. Hey, Spags, do you ever worry about
Nope.
PPE? What, I don't know what
Personal protective equipment.
for your 4-legged shop assistants. We worry a lot about ourselves, but what are the concerns for dust, noise, etc. for dogs or cats or chickens?
Yeah, some
Who
people
knows?
have chickens.
Thanks for all the advice.
All right, this is something you're going to find different opinions on. People have different opinions on what the role of a pet is in a human's life and what our responsibilities are to those little creatures. So this is just going to be my opinion. My animals don't spend any time in here. It may appear that way because I'll post videos and show shots of Dougie or Millie or
They
even
come
my,
in and then they hear and then go, okay.
Yet, honestly,
we're out.
my dogs want nothing to do with power tools.
Yeah.
And even if they did, I probably would not let them hang out when it's dusty in here. So I treat those animals like I would treat my own children, except for my kids don't poop in the backyard anymore. So I don't think it's healthy for them. They have a set of lungs. They've got eyes and ears. Their ears are even more sensitive than ours. It's a long-term quality of life thing, and I do think it's an owner's responsibility to make sure that that dog is protected. Just because they don't mind, because let's face it, a lot of dogs are kind of dumb, and they love the attention, and they love to be around you more so than they love their hearing. Their desire to be with you outweighs the fact that they're probably in some level of pain, and if they're not, their hearing has probably already been injured enough that it's not bothering them anymore. So that's, again, just my opinion. I definitely think we should keep the animals out of the shop, but your dog or cat or chicken or llama is yours and you can do what you want with it.
You bet it's mine.
Yeah, you bet that's my llama.
That's my llama.
So I would say just keep them out of the shop. I don't worry about PPE. I worry about just getting them out of the space.
Do you think they make anything?
Well, they have like goggles and stuff. Have you seen the like dogs that go on motorcycles and put their head out the car?
Yeah.
It's not good for their eyes
it's
and
not.
stuff.
It dries them out.
Yeah,
right?
so they have these goggles for dogs. You could probably get ear muffs or something modified. If there isn't a company that makes a product called mutt muffs, there needs to be.
Mutt muffs.
Yeah. So
There you
earmuffs
go.
for your dog, like people who take their dog to a shooting range and like hunting. Well, I guess if it's hunting, you want them to be able to hear, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
if they're participating in the
shooting
process.
range. Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
at a anyway, we're getting really down into a hole.
We're giving
here.
somebody a business plan.
Someone please make the mutt muffs, please, or just Google it. I'm sure it exists. Okay, that's my opinion on dogs, which I'm sure some will disagree with. Okay, Jordan Terrell wrote in. He says, "What's your white whale project? The one that you really want to tackle, but it's a little intimidating. You know it's going to be a big investment." Well, here's the sad truth. I no longer have a white whale project. Now, in the past, I used to say that the Blacker House chair was kind of we would call them on Wood Talk all the time, our bucket list projects. The Blacker House chair, the Maloof rocker, those were things that were on that list. Well, since then, and this is a unfortunate side effect of making content full-time, I haven't really had time to think about my personal growth and projects.
You know what? I have the perfect project for you.
What?
A shoe rack.
I've been building up my skills all these years to eventually build Nicole's perfect shoe rack.
I need a shoe rack.
We really do
bad.
need one. But that's what it comes down to. It's like, well, my next project is what did Nicole say we need? Or what did guild members say they want to see me build? So I honestly, and I was just having this conversation, who was it with? Someone recently, about how content production, at least for me, comes at the expense of my own personal growth. And there just isn't, I'm not afforded the opportunity to just kind of experiment and stay in one thing for a long time to get really good at it. I'm just always in this position of teaching and sharing information. So it really slows me down in that regard. So the depressing answer to your question, Jordan, is I don't have a white whale project.
Well, I mean, the Ruba was, and then you moved on.
I've done a lot of them, but there could be more. I just haven't had time to think about them. A lot of my white whale projects have to do with content production, things I want to do with the guild site. My end game vision of what like the guild is going to be, that's kind of a white whale project for me. It's just not woodworking as far as a project is concerned.
I got a super chat from Ben Bodner.
Ben Bodner?
Ben Bodner, yeah. There you go.
You could say Bodner.
If you want to ask your question, feel free to. I know it's a little tricky to do that,
Stupid.
so I'll keep my eye out for you. We also got one from Ness G. She said, "Happy Friday and belated birthday to you both.
Oh,
and
thank you.
May the 4th be with you. Glad you got your gift. Cheers."
May the 4th be with you
May the 4th
as well.
be with you.
I got to go get my lightsaber. It's downstairs.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick Caputo says,
By the pool table.
Rick Caputo says, if you had enough spare money to purchase 2 quality paring chisels, what 2 sizes do you use most often and what brand? Okay, well, anybody who makes a paring chisel, like, it'll be fine. The key is just sharpen it up and make it work, right? I can tell you what I bought recently. This is the most relevant answer for me. I picked up a couple of Blue Spruce Tools chisels. Now, I bought a regular bench chisel set, but I do like the idea of a paring chisel because you sharpen them at a lower bevel angle, and that's not necessarily conducive to chopping. So my main bench chisels have a higher angle, usually about 30 degrees. My Japanese chisels, 35. The ones I got from Blue Spruce, I'll probably keep them at about 30. So for the paring chisels, typically I'm going to go to 25, something like that. So it's very good at slicing things like end grain and doing this paring action, right, which is kind of keeping the chisel pretty level with the surface or parallel with the surface as you're slicing material away. So that lower bevel angle is good for that one function, but not good for chopping. That's why you might want a paring chisel. I have 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. Or is this 3/8? Where's my measuring device? There it is. Yeah, 1/2 inch. It's a good guess. So I have 1/2 inch and 1/4. Honestly, if I had to pick one, I'd probably just go with the 1/2 inch. I would use that most often, but I bought 2 because I do think at some point I'm going to need both of them. So that's my answer. Blue Spruce, 1/4 and 1/2, but don't let that stop you from looking at other brands. There's certainly cheaper options out there.
So Ben, I said, did a super chat, and he gave me his question. "Hi guys, I'm falling down the dovetail rabbit hole, pun intended, for somebody or someone buying just one dovetail chisel to supplement my bench chisels. Can you recommend a particular size?"
Funny, this is like almost the same
Yeah,
question.
I thought it was.
Well, with dovetail chisels, I think the real key is to think about your pin sizes, right? So if you're making hand-cut dovetails, one of the hallmarks of a hand-cut dovetail is a very small pin. So at the base of that pin,
Is that the little doojobby?
the little slot.
The little, like, thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the little thing, Nicole. So you have to look at the base and how tight that's going to be. So even if you have a very, very thin pin at the base, you're probably looking at minimum like 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes you're going to be at like 3/16, and then if you go a little wider, 1/4. So you have to think about what is the smallest pin you're going to want to make, because typically that's the thing you're using that dovetail chisel for. I've got a couple right here, and look at this little teeny tiny one. This is my 1/8 inch.
It's like a little,
So that allows me,
baby.
yeah, it's a little baby. That allows me to get down into those pins as I'm cleaning out the space between the pins, or I should say the space between the tails. It's the pin socket we're concerned about. And you're able to use that sort of pairing action, but the chisel size is dictated by the size of your pins.
I gotta. Are you done?
I am done.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just making sure.
You're very
I
polite.
didn't want to cut you off.
It's nice. You should respect your husband.
Marco Zurith did a super chat and said, "Don't decide on that. Just send it to Mexico." I'm guessing you were when you were talking about the clamps. So.
What?
You were showing off a clamp, saying
Yeah.
you were going to do a giveaway. And he said, "Don't do that. Just send it to me in Mexico."
Okay.
So, sorry, Marco. It doesn't work like that.
It just went right over my head.
Well, we're delayed.
Well, yeah,
We're
there's a
bit
delay.
yeah.
There's a little bit of a delay.
It's all about timing.
Well, we're going for quality today.
Yes, we are.
Okay, Nick Vandrew wrote in. He says, "I love the feeling of pulling off a project that is difficult or complex, for me at least, in terms of skill, but I also enjoy doing simple things and doing them really, really well. What was the one project that you finished that gave you the most gratification? Was it a gift, a piece that you sold, or something for yourself?" There's a couple standouts for me, and I actually think that you could probably pick those out. I'm going to say there's two of them. Which two projects in my history would you say were the most gratifying for me?
The sculpted rocker,
That's one.
because I remember you getting. There were
That was
a lot.
difficult.
It was a lot of challenging moments.
Yeah.
And something you made for the kids, maybe? Not really.
No.
No.
I don't even like them that much.
Your Rubo?
Nope. Family's on the right track, though.
Oh, family.
My uncle's memorial box.
Oh, yeah.
So I think those two. I made a memorial box for my uncle, no plans, just kind of, I had a couple of days to get it done for my aunt, and just went in and kind of built from the heart, if there's such a thing. And
Sure.
so that was really gratifying because I know it meant a lot to my aunt, and it was just an important thing. Also, from a woodworking perspective, I really liked the way it came out. I was surprised under that kind of
Pressure.
mental pressure and time pressure that I was able to pull it off. And then the rocker, the sculpted rocker, again, that was one of my bucket list projects. And it's just something that, it's one of those things that I can vividly remember when I first started woodworking, and I'd go into forums and I'd see somebody post a picture of one of those rockers, and I'd be like,
How do you even start?
why do I even bother?
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to be able to build something like that.
Yeah.
And then, only 14 years later,
Yeah.
14 short years later, here I am building it, and then teaching other people how to build it.
It's a series of steps.
It's just a series of steps.
It was funny, in our guild Facebook group, somebody brought up how he was overwhelmed by a project, and he remembered you saying that you write out all of your steps usually when
Right.
you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And he said, I did that. He goes, oh my gosh, I wish I had been doing this sooner. It's just really helped me mentally with that project. So I thought it was
It's definitely a way to get your brain organized. Even to this day, somewhere over here, I've got my chisels on it. You're not going to be able to see it, but it's a piece of paper with some writing on it. This is how I got started with the current project, is listing out each one of those steps.
Well, and then when you really feel overwhelmed, we print out like a blank Google Calendar, and we kind of plot it out for the month.
Like right now.
Yeah.
Well, we got some travel on the schedule, and a trip to New Jersey. I've got to teach at the Marc Adams School, and a couple guild builds. The guest instructor builds are going to start coming out, so it's a thing. We're going to keep answering questions, but I do want to show some of the parts for the executive desk. Right now, I'm in the middle of the executive desk build for the Wood Whisperer Guild, and it's a beast. This is going to be a really fun project. I just wanted to show you a little progress, just in case people come to this channel and don't know me and assume that all I do is talk with my wife about woodworking.
There would be nothing wrong with that.
I agree. It's one of my favorite things to do. So these are this mess of stuff here. This is all of the rails and legs for the upcoming desk, and it's all cherry.
Is it cherry?
Yeah, it's all cherry, and you can see cherry when it's in its raw, freshly milled state like this. You can actually see quite a color variation between these pieces, but it tends to, go from this sort of salmon pink, pale pink color to, just a light, almost have some greenish hue to it, but that will darken with time. So some really cool stuff going on with this one, but all of the rails, all of the legs, all that stuff is done. We've got some kind of a little bit of a callback to some arts and crafts with the curves that are on the bottom. But we'll cover all these techniques: curve construction, layout, grain layout, how to cut out some really nice, beautiful, beefy legs like this. It's definitely a good project, and my favorite part is the tech we'll be including in this desk. So wireless charging, USB ports, just all kinds of things that you need to make a desk go in
That's
2018.
cool. Well, speaking of desks, we just got a question in from B. Walker. I would like to build a desk out of using walnut wood, but it will be placed in an area with direct sunlight each day. Do you ever stain walnut to keep the dark color, or is using a color fast dye a better option?
Well,
doesn't walnut, if you put walnut in sun, wouldn't it get darker?
no.
Oh, it gets lighter.
Yes.
So cherry's the opposite.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, walnut lightens over time. So if you make a project like if you think of it, go in, because I know this is important to you, Nicole. Go into the bedroom and look at my dresser, which is made from cherry and walnut, and you'll see the walnut has gotten lighter, the cherry has gotten darker, and they start to meet in the middle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And same thing with the barrister bookcase.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about is the fact that that's going to get lighter. Some people will supplement the look of walnut by hitting it with a stain or dye. And this way you're artificially keeping that color a little bit darker over time and fighting, Mother Nature. I haven't done that. I think the only time I did anything like that was on my mom's low entertainment center. We're talking early Wood Whisperer days. And I did it actually because I had a little bit of uneven color between walnut plywood and the walnut solid wood trim. So I used the stain as a way to even those out, but it also has the second effect of keeping things nice and dark. It's perfectly viable. If you want to do it, go for it. I don't have anything against it. I haven't done it. It's a pain in the butt. Anytime I deal with stains, it's just inconvenient, so I try not to do it if I could avoid it, but not because there's something wrong with it, because I'm lazy.
Ben Harper says, aloha from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I sent you the USS Missouri coin before deployment last year. Oh, thank you, Ben. And Ben, sorry, I was looking at Ben. Matt. Matt, if you send me an email at nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, I will send you a coin back.
He doesn't want your dirty coin.
If you want a coin.
Nicole's got it. She's like Scrooge McDuck in her office with her boxes of challenge coins.
I found a place for the coin display case.
Oh, good.
So I'm in the process of hanging that, but it takes special screws, and I need you to anchor them to the wall for me.
Work.
Yes, lazy.
Just more work for you to do.
Lazy. Matt Scranton just did a super chat and said, sorry, I've been MIA lately. I love you both. Aw.
Thanks, Matt. We've been MIA lately.
Yeah, we've all been, it's the end of the year kind of stuff for school and kids. Stephanie McNeil did a super chat. Money is no object.
Whoa, Stephanie.
What is the wood, exotic?
Let's hang out, sister.
Exotic and all, that you would want to use, but intimidates the snot out of you?
Well, I'll tell you this. There's only one wood that intimidates me, and it's not intimidating me from a working standpoint, from the sheer cost of it and what it means as every tooth of a saw blade runs through it and pulverizes it into dust.
Paduke?
No.
No.
Ebony.
Ebony. Well, I was going to say ebony, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, ebony is a fairly precious material. It's really expensive, and it's one of those woods that I buy in small amounts.
Like this big.
Yeah, turning blanks and pen blanks and things, because it's usually the format you get them in. And it's just so expensive, and there is a little bit of that sort of environmental responsibility thing that if I'm going to have this stuff, I better make the best use of it. So I have like a little baggie of just small little...
Your stash.
Yeah, my little stash of ebony cutoffs that I'm probably never going to use, but I can't throw it away.
Yeah.
So I think ebony is the only one. As far as other woods, I mean, there gets to be a point...
The wangi, it gives you a lot of splinters, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wangi's kind of nasty. I don't really like working with it, but I'm not really intimidated so much by any wood at this point. Wood is wood. Some of it's harder than others. There are some, outliers that can dull your tools a little bit faster, but guess what? The tools are there to be dulled. That's why we have them. So if it dulls a little faster, I don't care. I think anything that, I don't know, trying to think of examples of where I'd get intimidated. If there's safety concerns for a particular wood, maybe the dust is like extremely toxic, you know, there might be things that make me nervous for that reason, but not because I'm working it. I think you get to a point in your woodworking career where wood is just the medium and the species is just the color, and it doesn't really matter what it is, whether I'm working with domestic cherry or something super exotic.
I have a question about ebony. If it's so coveted, why, I mean, is it, you can't grow it?
I don't know that it's coveted. I think
It
it's
seems
just,
like it is,
it's
though.
precious.
Yeah, but it's beautiful.
I think there's always a balance
it would
between...
look really cool to see a project made of ebony.
Oh, wouldn't it though?
It would be really neat.
I don't know about the growth characteristics of it, where it grows and how, but it is something like, you know, that is a resource that is not being replenished as fast as it's being used. And that could be said for a lot of exotics.
Right.
And that's part of, you know, the environmental responsibility that we all have to kind of think about and decide how much we want to take on as a personal responsibility.
Salvage Yard Design says, get some good ribs for the smoker this weekend.
baby.
Cheers, Travis. It's Swigs.
Schwigs.
Schwigs.
Haven't heard from Schwigs in a
know,
while. He
it's
was my
been-
barbecue buddy.
Yeah.
Dude,
How you been?
how you been?
How you been?
There's just coffee
can't-
in there? Is that an
know.
Irish coffee,
I
Nicole?
feel.
How you been?
How you been?
I want to throw some ribs in the smoker this weekend.
We should.
Now that I
We
found
have
out that I'm
company, too.
pre-diabetic. Let's slather it up with some sugary sauce, baby.
We got a question here from Taylor Thurston. What's the deal with comparison bits? Woodcraft Guy described a double comparison.
Compression.
Oh, sorry.
Comparison bits.
Compression bits. Hey,
You the best.
I know. I'm trying to read fast, and
know
I
you are. Go ahead.
sometimes
Woodcraft Guy.
described a double compression spiral bit as the best of both worlds for an upcut and a downcut. Is it really?
It is. It is. Compression bits, when we talk about spiral patterns, a lot of people know that for router bits, a spiral pattern, it's cutting on an angle, you get a shear cut, tends to give you better results, it's easier to feed the material through, and you get less tear out. But a spiral has directionality, so as it's pushing the wood fibers in one direction or the other, you could wind up with a little bit of tear out on one side, but a clean cut on the other, and that's why we strategically use upcut and downcut spirals. So when you have a flush trim bit, you've got a bearing on both sides, and usually if you have a spiral or straight, that's the most common, but a compression bit is one where the blades are actually at two different angles. So one is an upcut, the other is a downcut. So if you could fit your work between those bearings and make sure that both of those blades are contacting, you get the best of both worlds, because now you are basically the direction of the blades is pushing the fibers into itself, into the work. So you get a clean cut on both sides. So when you look at a compression bit, you should very quickly notice it looks weird, because you actually do have blades going in, they're sort of oriented in opposite directions, or they're in opposite orientations. And I think they're great. I actually just got my first set. I think it's, who just came out with the mega flush trim bit? Was it Infinity? I think Infinity Toolworks just came out with some. And I purchased a few of those, and they're actually my first compression bits. I've never had them prior to this.
Cool.
But for flush trim operations, it's a real good idea.
So compression bits, not a comparison
Not
bit.
a comparison bit. You can compare them
Yes.
to other types of bits, so you're close.
Smithson Creations Handcrafted Woodworking wants to know, just got my Laguna 1412 bandsaw this weekend. No blade, but looking to get blades. Is there a width of blade that would be considered the
Utilitarian?
utilitarian blade?
It's okay.
So I have to constantly switch them out.
Well, utilitarian depends on what you do. So if you do a lot of curves, you don't want to go with a really wide blade. If you're trying to do more resawing on there, you don't necessarily want the skinniest little blade.
Resaw.
Resaw. So I like, on mine, something like a 3/8 is a pretty good number for me, even a 1/4 inch. So this is why I have two saws, because I run into that same issue. And even with two saws, I sometimes have to debate what to put on each one. So I have either 3/8 or 1/2 inch on my bigger saw, which lends itself well to resawing and wide curve cuts. And then on the little 14-inch, I've got a 1/4 inch blade.
Are they Carter blades?
The ones I have right now are the Carter brand. and Wood Slicer makes some good blades. Lennox makes good blades. Timberwolf, these are all pretty decent blade companies. So
any of which one do you have?
I don't know.
I don't know.
So if on the 14, if that's all I had was a 14, I have to cut tight curves enough that I don't think I'd want a 1/2-inch blade on my 14-inch saw. I would probably stick with a 1/4-inch blade.
I will find out specifically which blades he has on his saw.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Well, and I want to add it to the store.
Oh.
So we have the Amazon.
What you're seeing here are size differences.
Yeah.
A lot of times the variation, I don't know how much variation in tooth configuration and tooth count, but we can certainly put them.
Yeah.
I've got a stack of them up there.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Snodgrass was very generous
Yes.
to me.
So
All right,
we'll add that to our
How are we doing on
Amazon.
time? Want to do one more question?
Yeah, we got a few. Let me just make sure I don't have any super chats. We did. Marco
Polo.
Zurith wants to know, what is your take on square drill bits? Square drill bits.
I didn't know they exist.
I was going to say.
Okay, so, and I may be misspeaking here because there could be things I don't know about or haven't heard of. I don't know about a square drill bit. The only thing I could imagine you're talking about is a hollow chisel mortising bit, which is actually, I mean, let's wait for him to reply. We can go back to that, but chances are you're talking about a hollow chisel mortiser bit. It's actually a square chisel, but still a round bit. To my knowledge, there's no such thing as a square drill bit. And a lot of times you'll see these ads like on Facebook for this miraculous drill bit, the square drill bit, and it's a hollow chisel mortising bit. It's something that's not new. It's been around for a long, long time, but you have these weird Chinese companies selling these things like it's the next best thing, and then people buy them and realize that it doesn't fit in a regular drill press. Like unless you have adapters and stuff, it's not meant to be on a tool like that. So let him.
Oh yeah, it's going to take a minute.
Yeah, let him clarify
yeah.
that, but ultimately it's a hollow chisel mortising bit, and in that case, it's a very common way to make nice square mortises.
In the meantime, Robert wants to know, can you put the name of the manufacturer/company for that flush trim bit in the chat?
Hells yeah.
What's the name?
And I believe it's Infinity. I'll go get the bit.
Well, you go do that.
I'm going to go get it.
Infinity compression?
It is Infinity's, they have, they're called the Mega Flush Trim
Oh,
Bit.
there it is. Oh, wow, it's on Amazon too.
And they have several of them.
So, Infinity tool, Mega Flush Trim Bit.
Yeah, they have like 4 different ones that they came out
Yeah,
with.
this one.
They're basically like
I'll just add it to the store.
a straight shot at William Eng's Big Daddy bits. These guys.
Yeah, this is what this one looks like.
I have that one too.
You have that one too?
Yeah, that's the big chubby one.
The big chubby one. And then they have, that's that one.
That's the tall chubby.
The tall chubby.
This is.
We're going to rebrand their product for
They
them.
really should have contacted me before they put these on the
The
market.
tall chubby.
We call this one the tall chub.
The short chub.
Short chub. This one is
Oh man.
yeah, they're not cheap.
No.
So be forewarned, these are not cheap bits. It takes a lot to manufacture a compression bit of that size. Some of these are like 1 to 1.25 inches diameter. They are substantial.
So if you go to amazon.com/shop/the Wood Whisperer, is it the Wood Whisperer? I can't.
We never remember.
The Wood Whisperer, yes, with the in it.
If they would just let us do a redirect, it would be a lot easier.
I'd like to get both of them.
Like thewoodwhisperer.com/Amazon would be great.
Yeah.
But they don't let us do that.
Maybe I can talk to him about
You
that.
should. All right, more questions?
Let's see. Let me see. Marco, I saw it in a Japanese in a Japanese channel, and it worked for mortises. I'm sorry I made the question so open, but I'm using the cheapest super chat.
No problem.
Oh, it's okay.
No, and I was being stupid and dense for a reason to be, to try to be funny unsuccessfully. And if yes, I mean, that's the type of thing you tend to see those things with. I've seen some concept videos of bits that make square mortises, but it's this one that goes in this weird thing, and it's actually a round bit that does the work. So he's got to be talking about hollow chisel mortisers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do have a question. Let's see.
But to answer your question there, you're going to need either an adapter for the drill press that allows you to use hollow chisels, or you're going to need a hollow chisel mortiser. If you get a hollow chisel mortiser, it's going to come with the chisel set. So my advice is do not buy that from that person or that company. Just buy the drill press conversion kit, which may even come with some chisels, or buy a hollow chisel mortiser.
There you go. Tommaso says, hi, both. Love the show. I'm currently out of time to spend on woodworking since my 1-year-old's birth. Have you got any suggestions on a project for a kid? Toys, furniture, etc. We have tons of suggestions.
We do have kids projects on
Yeah.
our site. I'd go check that out.
Yeah.
The Cricut pull toy.
The Cricut pull toy. Almost every year for Woodworkers Fighting Cancer, we've released some kid-related, so kids' table and chairs. The art easel.
Bookshelf.
The bookshelf. The rocking horse.
Yeah, with kids that young, there's not much they're going to be able to do. As they get a little older, you could probably involve them in some of the assembly part of the process. But for us, it was always a big hit if I have this thing constructed and let them paint it.
Yeah.
Like a kid thinks that, they made this thing if they put a paint color on it. So, we let Mateo paint his little pull cricket,
Yeah.
and he really, or grasshopper,
Grasshopper.
he really enjoyed that. So.
And then when he did the table, he, did fun stuff.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
he was able to
table.
mark up the table
Yep.
before I lacquered and sealed that stuff in.
Yeah,
So just involve them to whatever extent is appropriate for their age.
Yep. Nick says, hi guys, happy belated birthday. I noticed you started using your assembly table as your outfeed table.
Oh, good eye. I never even talked about that, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Would you recommend this? Just curious if projects get in the way if you need the table saw.
They might, and what wound up happening was, it's a smaller shop, so I have to think a little bit more efficiently. And I started to get to the point where I had the assembly table over there. It was just kind of collecting stuff. I had a separate outfeed table, and it just was like, it was too many horizontal surfaces. And I needed a better place to organize my MFT. So I'll pan around while we're here. No reason not to. Show you what I'm talking about. Bye, Nicole.
I'm going to present the shop.
Okay, so yeah, over there is the new outfeed table, which is just the old assembly table. And then that essentially gave me more room to put my Festool MFT over here. So does it get in the way? Not really, because I do a lot of assembly right on my workbench. So it's one of those things where over time, the role of the assembly table has been just maybe diminished a little bit, because I just don't necessarily need it all the time. I don't need that much space. And when I do, I do have to be careful to, as you could see over there, clutter, right? There's clutter over there. It's very hard to avoid clutter. But when you're in a smaller shop, sometimes those are the compromises that you just have to make. One more question.
Well, this is not a question. This is Lance. Is it Eli? E-L-Y?
Yeah.
My mother just passed away a couple days ago, feeling numb, and my little girls, 3 and 5, are screaming and fighting. Thank God you guys are on live.
Oh, wow. So sorry
Lance,
to hear
I'm
that.
very sorry to read that, and I hope we give you a little break mentally.
Sometimes it's whether you want it or not, the kids screaming is the normalcy of routine and life that reminds you still have other things to do, and there is no time to just sort of to get down because there's people depending on you. I know there's times where I've had issues where I get down on myself for something, whether it's like anxiety issues,
When you had the
health
thyroid.
issues, like things that really get you down. But kids are, unless we're talking like major issues, most of the time kids are pretty good at bouncing back. And I find that kids are a great reminder of what's important in the here and now. They kind of keep you on track.
Yeah,
So I think look at those screaming kids and you let them be your distraction for now until there's a better time.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
All right. So I think did you do the Patreon thank yous?
I did not. Thanks for the reminder. You want to grab another question while I?
Sure. I got plenty.
Sure.
Sure. JJH, start organizing my sandpaper in a different banner and realize I have a multitude of grits. What grits do you keep the most of in your shop?
Kiss my grits, Nicole.
Kiss my grits. I love that show. That was such a good show.
Well, I have a whole range because sometimes you just never know. If you're doing a refinishing project or something, you need a 60 grit. Generally, I'm going to have 80 grit on hand, 120, 180, 220, 320, and then the higher.
So all of them.
Is this not helpful at all? I mean, it depends on what you're doing because
Yeah.
there's sanding finish, which is going to go in the higher range of grits and also typically a different type of paper. Then you have your raw wood sanding grits, which for me, that's generally going to be like 150, 180, 220, 320, right? And then there's like refinishing jobs or dirty jobs where you just need your 60 or 80 grit, basically like, cement being scraped across the surface. So that's a terrible answer to that question. And so I'm going to actually thank a few folks who helped us out on Patreon. Patreon.com/woodwhisperer. Wood Artisan, Coleman O'Reilly, Jonas Filecki, Chris McAvoy. No.
Okay.
Kyle Barton. Hey, I saw Kyle in Fine Woodworking.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Hi, Kyle.
Kerry Darden, Larry Smith, Smitty he calls himself. Good old Smitty. Jordan Terrell, we answered one of his questions. Wade Mack, Ian Anderson, and Robert Fox.
Cool.
So thank you so much, everybody, for helping us out. We appreciate it. Sorry about being out of touch for 2 weeks, but we're back. I want to give someone a prize today.
We'll do Jordan.
You like Jordan?
Yep.
Jordan and his white whale.
Yes, his white whale.
I want to see Jordan riding a white whale. Woohoo! So Jordan is going to get a free guild project of his choosing today. And if I may make a recommendation, the executive desk is going to be a smashing good time.
Smashing good time.
Yes, it's going to be wonderful.
Pinky's out.
That's right. So thank you for watching,
Yes,
everybody.
thank you.
We'll catch you next week. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. We went to Affinity War last night.
So good.
It was so good.
So good.
Bye.
So good. All right. Let me kill the live feed. La, la, la. What's up, Nicole?
Oh, Benjamin did a super chat at the last second.
Well, we're still live. It's not recording, but we're live.
Thank you, Ben. Can they still see us?
I don't know. Well, yeah, they can see anyone who didn't leave.
He said lost power during live. Love you.
Ben Achtenberg?
Achtenberg.
Yeah.
Achtenberg. I think he just wants me to try to say his last name.